I think it's difficult when the season is probably going to be. You can see it going down a certain path, and you know probably what's coming, and you know that you're not going to get much momentum. So I think we've done the best with it we could. I think the really good cup runs helped, and I think that probably affected our league form a little bit. But I think we probably knew going into year one coming here that year one was not going to be how we ended up. You know, it was a case of coming in, assessing the group of players that we kept, bringing in some to add some strength, and rolling with that for the season, and then actually getting to this point where we are now, and then making more wholesale changes and moving forward. But like I said, last season, I think we were happy with the way it ended up. We were happy with the cup run, and then it got halted, and probably that was enough time for us to actually learn what we needed to learn, to make assessments about the players and prepare ourselves for where we are now. I think it couldn't have actually gone better in that sense.
There were definite pluses and minuses to what happened with the pandemic and the stop-start side of it, because on the plus side, it gave us time to look at what we had and gave us time to then, when we weren't playing, to structure the off-field stuff as well, in terms of the backroom staff we had right through the football club, I think. And we've done a lot of work behind the scenes in terms of that, and setting up the academy with the young lads as well. So we put a lot of things in place which we wouldn't have been able to do if the season would have continued. So it gave us that benefit, but what it didn't do is then give us enough time to really gauge where we were with our players. You know, we come into a team that players were leaving left, right and centre. We didn't really know what we were going to have at the start of the season. We managed to bring a few in to kind of just get us through it, really. And we did. We had a brilliant cup run, a really good cup run, and we should have been better in the league as well. I think the way we played, the points, I don't think warranted how we played through the season. We should have got some more points, I think, and valued that. But again, that showed to us what we needed to bring in over this period of time, and you can see by what we've done already how quickly we went to work straight away and how quickly we got our business done in terms of the players we wanted to bring in. And Jim and I were talking earlier, and I think Jim was saying sort of 7 or 8 games we'd won out of 40. I mean, that in itself says everything. We had to make changes because we weren't winning our football matches. And of course, there's always going to be collateral damage to that. Players are going to go, but we conceded too many goals. We didn't have too much of a problem scoring goals last season. It was conceding them. So we needed to make changes defensively, and that's not because the boys weren't up to the quality we needed at the time. I just think there was a lack of experience and knowledge at that level. And the type of players that are vocal on the pitch, and we've had to add that in, and we've done that. And I think the squad we've now got is.
Well, that's where we were losing games. We were losing games in the final 5-10 minutes, and that we could clearly see that it was down to the experience. It was down to the game management. It was the players that we had on the field at that moment in time, in the closing stage of the game. I think we couldn't bring the points home. And that's not being harsh on anyone. It's just a fact. We needed a bit more experience. So that's really what we've targeted over the close season, isn't it?
Yeah, and also the quality as well. As much as the players have gone out, we've brought in more players than have gone out. I think if people look at our squad now, last year we were looking at probably our bench sometimes and thinking, what can we do to make things changes in the game to bring those points home when we had the opportunity? And we probably didn't feel at times there was enough on there to make the changes or warrant the changes with the experience to see those games home. So we look at our team now, we look at our squad now and our bench now. We believe our squad, any of those players can be a starting 11.
Yeah.
There's nobody we think, well, he's a good off the bench, or he's he's going to be. We believe everybody in our squad we've got at the minute is good for rotation, and can start games. So that for us is a massive step up from where we were, in our opinions, from last season.
Yeah. So obviously you've come back a little bit earlier through training. We've trained majority through the summer. And you've brought some new players in. Just talk about the players you brought in. As in,
I think a lot of the players are known to the football club anyway. And what we found is we found that word of mouth, stuff gets around. People hear about the way we're doing things. We feel, and certain players have been really keen and very approachable about coming back. Some even kind of were instigating certain things, and that's really positive for us, isn't it? When you've got players of real calibre instigating conversations with yourselves as manager, then that's good. And then you go and add to that with other players that we've brought in. I think we're really happy with the group that we've assembled.
Yeah, I think it's we had a limited amount of time to sort of put things together and for them to see how things have changed. But I think, you know, non-league football is you know, people talk a lot, and I think they can see what we've put in place and how we want to move the club forward, and the message has really got out there. And I think, you know, those players that were here previously perhaps felt it wasn't like that, which is why they wanted to move on, and you know, personal reasons and stuff like that. But when they see back at the football club now, they're willing to come back, they want to come back because of what we're creating. So we've been really pleased, and you know, let's make no bones about this, you know, we instigated these conversations. You know, we were out there tracking these players because we knew we didn't want them to leave in the first place. So we knew there was always on our radar, and as soon as the season was curtailed because of the pandemic, we were making sure we were on the phones to say, look, this is what we're like now, this is what we're doing. And they're like, no, I see the difference, I can see it already, I can hear, you know, they talk, they speak to their friends, and once you get one or two of those signings over the line, your players also help bring them in, those experienced players, because one signing can then bring those players on, you know, and it did, you know, essentially once you get that first one over the line, those other players that are kind of umming and ahhing to see what you're doing, like, well, he's signing, I'm signing. So it's moved quite quickly, and we got a business done really early. I think was it 8 we brought in now? 8 players, which is, and we believe 8 of those players can start games. You know, all these 8 players are very capable of coming into our first team squad and starting games. So it's not like we're strengthening our squad. You know, we've added real top quality to what we already had here.
So I mean, you know, you speak to people around the ground. The morale, even though we weren't getting the games finished over the line last year, the morale was very good. You know, from that's a very good positive. Obviously, the boys who were brought in this year, what is the difference with them coming in? More leadership there?
Yeah.
Or?
Well, I think as well, we've been very specific who we've gone out and recruited. We knew where we wanted to strengthen, we knew how we wanted to play, and we kind of had to muddle through last season because when we were going through it, we couldn't really bring anybody in. It was very difficult to do that. So we muddled through and say that, you know, the supporters can kind of see how we want the game to be played. But at times I think we were probably putting square pegs in round holes, whereas now we've got the right players in, we want in the positions, and not only that, we've been very specific in choosing players that can play in 3 or 4 different positions. Mm-hmm. That for us is key, because if we are changing systems during a game, switching things around, they're adaptable straight away. You know, they're not players that are saying, I play at this position, that's it. That for us was key, because we want to have a squad that we can rotate and move around. So yeah, we've been really pleased with the business we've done. I think, you know, you talk to anybody in non-league in terms of the players we have signed, I don't think you can argue in terms
it's raised some eyebrows. We noticed it from the first training session when the group were together. You know, the intensity was up levels. The communication was up levels. Just the noise on the training pitch was up. You know, and that's just from the buzz that the boys are creating amongst themselves.
Ronaldo drinking Coke, so
they can feel that things have improved. They can feel that. They can feel that the atmosphere is good. You know, it's our job to provide certain things, and the boys are responding to that. You know, they really are on the training pitch. You know, you heard today, you know, there's times where we'll just let them manage themselves. You know, with regards to having a little bit of a ding-dong with each other, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Because that's going to drive them on. And they're a group that will drive each other on and push to achieve, you know, good standards.
Yeah, and standards in the change rooms as well, not just on the pitch but off it, and that's key. We've had a chat with them today about making a senior group who will run the squad, essentially to make sure the standards are kept high. So it's giving them that responsibility, and I think they've bought into that. And the quality of player is just, you know, last season we knew what we needed to change. You know, we felt quite early on. We knew that we got the best out of the group we had. We sincerely believe that. But it's our necks on the line as managers, and as much as, you know, those conversations are difficult, there is no sentiment in football. We can't be like that. You know, they're all great lads, even the ones that we let go. We, you know, fond of them as people, but we needed to make changes. And as managers, we can't.
You can't have
to make those decisions. No. We'll live and die by those decisions. You know, whatever happens. But you know, if you look at the squad we've put together now, I think people would probably argue we're in a stronger position than we were last year.
The thing is, it's an understandable viewpoint from, you know, and let's touch on this. It's an understandable viewpoint from supporters when they see, you know, young players that the club have kind of brought on from youth football through to where they were playing last season, and sometimes supporters can be sad to see players go, but you know, they have to trust us as managers to make our decisions. You know, and it's nothing against the players. It's nothing personal. It's just we just don't feel that they're right for their development for where we are at the moment.
And it's been easy to keep hold of them as well. It's been easy to give them contracts to say stay with us, and they might not have had the minutes, but actually they're better off going out and playing and getting that game time under their belts, getting that experience under their belts, learning off other players, because There's nothing like playing football matches. So if you hold on to players, I think we've always said the same thing. There's no point in holding on to a player just for the sake of holding on to him. I'd rather him go out, do really well somewhere, then perhaps we can look at them again in the future. But
we had to be fair to ourselves. We had to be fair to what we want to achieve this season, and we had to be fair to those players. And sometimes when you have to have an honest conversation, and that was what we felt we did. We spoke to the lads, and I hope they understand that it's time for them to just go elsewhere and have a look. And we've done our business and brought other players in, and I hope that the supporters will just get with us and really drive it forward, which I think we all feel that something really positive can happen this year.
So obviously league-wise, we did struggle a little bit last year. What would you see as an acceptable season with the players you brought?
You're asking for a prediction, Jimbo. Scandal. You can't actually manage that, can you? No, look, we just want it. We know we've improved the squad.
Obviously, cup run. Nice
Cup run's always great for the finance of the football club, but for us, that week in week out doggedness of the league is probably the most important bit to us.
We want to be better than we were last year, better than the season before, we want to push on. We want to push, and we feel that we've got a group that is capable of pushing on. It's up to us to how we manage that group. But I feel that we're looking for a vast improvement. So, how did things finish as the season stopped last year? Bottom 3. Season before, bottom 3. Well, we're looking for a vast improvement on that, and I think we'll get it.
Like you said, Jim, it's down to a case where things have to change. You can't keep muddling through seasons, just getting by and surviving. We as a group, as managers, we want to push on. We want to be successful. And you can see by the group of players now that we've got, they want to be successful. They're not happy just mooching around the bottom of the league. They're as driven and as to succeed as we are. So we hope coming into next season we can be in a better position than we were before. Let's just say that.
Obviously, you brought in a senior players. What few supporters have asked, the development of young players still coming in. Is that still a key focus? I know you've got the Ollie Gobbolds and young players like that coming in. Are they still? Is that still a key?
You can let Jim finish.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I want to jump in and answer because that has something that's been said. But when we're signing quality young players as well, we're signing Jules Contrail, highly sought after young player, signing Hunter. Ben Hunter, highly sought after young player. We've given new contracts to Mason. We've given new contracts to Ollie Godbold. We're nurturing the players that we believe are the future of the football club, and we're bringing in young players that we believe. It's not what a previous manager or someone else believes to be a quality young player. We're the managers of this football club, of this football team. So it's what we feel that the quality youngsters coming through need to be. So we've put them in those positions.
And I think as well, it's very difficult to create that pathway if you don't have the base underneath it. And by now creating the programme we've got with the under-18s at Kesgrave, under-18s hardly trained last year, yet they were still fairly successful. So the fact that they can be training 3 or 4 times a week shows that progression. Then, as we did last season, the 18s will be progressing into the A team and the reserve. So anybody who's doing well who's in the under-18s, who's old enough to play, will play reserve team football. And the reserve team football then looking to push them on up into ours, into the first team squad. And you can see by Ollie Godbold's development last year that we're willing to do that. That hasn't changed. That will still be there, but I think it was a little bit disjointed before because there was too much of a big step to go from the youngster from where they were in the under-18s to step straight into the first team. But now they've got that progression of the reserves being a bit more built towards progressing those players in senior level for the first team. So that progression is better for them now, and I think that's something we're really pleased that we put in place. But yeah, it's massively part of our ethos because we want good young players to stay with us. I think historically they've got to sort of 18 and so and moved on somewhere else because to get senior football, because we haven't had the reserve team structure in place to be able to push them into the first team, where things have changed now. So I think young players can see that. Our recruitment for the under-18s programme at Kesgrave this year has been fantastic, and that's our first year. So we're really pleased, and it's just a bright future for the football club. We believe we're going on that trajectory within the football club, on and off the pitch, and we hope as a management team there's lots more to come.